An Amish church doesn't happen in a building. It rotates between family homes every 2 weeks. When it's your turn to host, preparation begins days in advance. These 10 demanding tasks reveal how Amish women transform ordinary homes into sacred spaces for 150 plus people. 2 week rotation schedule. Amish worship follows a pattern most modern Christians find incomprehensible. There are no church buildings, no permanent sanctuaries. Instead, church rotates between family homes on a bi-weekly schedule, with each household hosting approximately once per year. This means that every 12 months, an Amish woman will transform her home into a sacred space for 100 to 150 people. The rotation schedule is published weeks in advance, giving families time to prepare. But advance notice doesn't reduce the pressure. The entire community will enter your home, observe your family's behavior, and eat your food. Poor hosting reflects not just on the family, but on their spiritual seriousness. Planning begins weeks before the actual date. Women mentally inventory what needs cleaning, repairing, or improving. They assess food supplies and plan accordingly. This advanced preparation allows them to spread the work across multiple days rather than attempting everything in a panicked rush. The responsibility weighs heavily on mothers who understand that their work directly enables community worship. This enormous responsibility transforms routine housework into sacred duty. Deep cleaning. Thursday and Friday, before hosting Sunday, become devoted to cleaning that exceeds normal weekly housework by orders of magnitude. This isn't surface tidying, but thorough, deep cleaning that reaches corners and surfaces typically cleaned seasonally. Windows get washed inside and out, requiring ladders and considerable effort. Floors are scrubbed on hands and knees, not just swept. Baseboards are wiped down. Walls are spot cleaned. Ceilings are checked for cobwebs. Every surface that could possibly be seen receives attention because nothing can be overlooked. The work is exhausting. Hours of bending, reaching, scrubbing, and lifting strain backs and shoulders. Hands become raw from cleaning solutions, but the physical discomfort is accepted as necessary preparation. Cleanliness reflects spiritual readiness. Daughters help extensively, learning the standards they'll need to meet when hosting their own homes after marriage. This shared labor teaches skills while lightening the burden, though the mother bears ultimate responsibility. The theological understanding isn't about impressing neighbors. It's about preparing sacred space. When the home becomes church for a day, it must be worthy of that purpose. Saturday, baking marathon. Saturday begins before dawn with the enormous task of baking all food for the post-service fellowship meal. For a congregation of 150 people, this means quantities that dwarf normal family baking. 15 to 20 loaves of bread must be baked, multiple pies get prepared, dozens of cookies emerge from the wood-fired oven. Everything must be made from scratch. The wood stove operates continuously, requiring constant attention to maintain proper temperatures. Batches of bread dough rise while pies bake, cookies cool while the next batch enters the oven. Daughters and neighboring women often arrive to help. Multiple hands work together, kneading dough, rolling pie crusts, managing the complex timing. The kitchen becomes hot from the constantly burning stove despite outdoor winter temperatures. The physical demands are substantial. Standing for 8 to 10 hours performing repetitive motions. The heat creates uncomfortable working conditions. The pressure of knowing that inadequate food will shame the family. These stresses accumulate but are accepted as part of hosting worship. Moving furniture out. Saturday afternoon brings the dramatic transformation of living space into worship space. All furniture must be removed from the main floor to create room for church benches. The living room gets emptied completely. The dining room becomes open space. This furniture doesn't just get rearranged, it gets carried outside to barns or sheds. Men arrive to help with the heaviest pieces, but women direct the process. Sofas, chairs, tables, cabinets all must go. Rugs get rolled and removed. The space must be completely clear and neutral, ready to become sacred rather than domestic space. Children's bedrooms get reorganized to serve as coat rooms and nurseries. Beds get pushed together or removed to create space for hanging coats and for mothers to nurse babies during the long service. The kitchen requires its own reorganization. Normal dish storage gets supplemented with borrowed plates. Large containers for beverages get positioned. The transformation from family kitchen to community dining facility requires careful planning. This physical labor teaches important lessons about the cost of communal worship. The furniture removal makes sacrifice literal and visible. Preparing the church benches. Saturday evening brings the arrival of church benches, transported in a specialized wagon that moves from home to home. These wooden backless benches have served the district for decades, sometimes generations. They're the same benches that seated current grandparents when they were children. Men from the district arrive to unload and arrange the benches in precise rows. Women supervise the placement, ensuring proper spacing. The seating arrangement follows strict patterns. Men on one side, women on the other. Married couples sit separately during worship. Children sit with mothers until boys reach age 8 to 10 when they transition to the men's side. The backless design is intentional. Backless benches promote proper posture during the 3-hour service. They prevent slouching or excessive comfort that might lead to drowsiness. The mild discomfort keeps worshipers alert, creating physical reminder that worship requires attention and effort. For the elderly and those with back problems, these hard benches create genuine suffering. Yet cushions are rejected as inappropriate softness. The community accepts discomfort as part of worship discipline. Food preparation logistics. Planning a meal for 150 people without modern appliances requires remarkable organizational skill. The menu stays simple and traditional. Fresh bread with various spreads, including peanut butter, jam, and cheese spread, pickles, pickled beets, and pickled eggs. Coffee and lemonade as beverages. The economic pressure is substantial. Feeding this many people costs money from the family's limited budget. The community expects generous provision. Running out of food creates shame. But excessive waste demonstrates poor stewardship. The balance requires careful calculation. Saturday's food preparation involves final steps. Bread gets sliced. Spreads get mixed and placed in serving containers. Pickles are arranged. Beverages are prepared in large quantities. Everything must be staged for quick serving after the service ends. Multiple women work together on these tasks. Daughters, sisters, and neighbors assist, creating collective effort that makes the enormous task manageable. This mutual aid reflects Amish values about community support. Personal spiritual preparation. Saturday night, after physical preparations are complete, attention shifts to spiritual readiness. Mothers engage in personal prayer, asking God to bless the worship space they've prepared. They pray for their children's behavior during the long service. They pray for grace to manage hosting stress. Family devotions Saturday evening focus specifically on preparing hearts for worship. Scripture readings emphasize reverence and proper worship attitudes. Children receive reminders about expected behavior. Sitting still, staying quiet, showing respect. The anxiety is real. Opening your home to community inspection creates vulnerability. Every aspect of preparation will be observed and evaluated. The fear of making mistakes publicly, of inadequate food, of behavioral problems from children creates pressure that must be managed through faith. Yet this pressure is accepted as appropriate. Hosting church should feel weighty because the responsibility is genuinely significant. Saturday night bedtime comes early because Sunday requires enormous physical and mental endurance. Sunday morning final prep. Sunday morning begins earlier than typical Sundays. The hosting family rises with extra time built in for final preparations that cannot be completed Saturday. The kitchen receives last-minute organization for the post-service meal. Food items that couldn't be staged Saturday night are positioned for quick access. The worship space gets a final inspection to ensure everything remains perfect after Saturday's work. Breakfast must be early and quick because preparation time is needed and because eating heavily before the long service creates discomfort. The family dresses in Sunday clothing with extra care, knowing they'll be observed throughout the day. Women adjust their prayer coverings meticulously. Children are inspected for cleanliness and proper dress. No stains, tears, or disorder can be permitted because appearance reflects on the family's spiritual condition and respect for worship. The final walkthrough checks every detail. Are hymn books properly positioned on benches? Are the benches aligned correctly? Are pathways clear and safe for elderly members navigating the space? Is the outdoor area ready for arriving buggies? These final checks catch anything overlooked during Saturday's preparations, preventing embarrassment or disruption during worship. As families begin arriving, the hosting family greets everyone with grace despite the internal stress. Buggies require parking space. Children run and play before service begins. Adults gather in conversation. The hosting mother manages this pre-service controlled chaos while maintaining composure, setting a tone of welcoming calm that helps the community transition from travel to worship during service responsibilities. When worship begins, the hosting mother's responsibilities don't end. She sits in the women's section, separated from her husband who sits with the men. Young children sit with her, requiring constant quiet management during the 3-hour service. Babies need nursing or changing, necessitating discreet exits to the designated nursery room. Toddlers struggle to sit still on hard benches, requiring gentle correction that prevents disruption. The pressure is multiplied because the community watches the hosting family's behavior. Parents are expected to model proper worship conduct, demonstrating effective spiritual leadership through their children's behavior. Misbehavior reflects poorly on the entire family, suggesting inadequate discipline or insufficient spiritual training. Participating fully in worship while managing children requires remarkable mental multitasking. The mother must sing the German hymns while monitoring her toddler's fidgeting. She must follow along in the Ausbund hymnal while preventing her baby from disturbing others. She must listen to the preaching while preparing to nurse or change diapers if needed. This divided attention is expected and accepted as part of a mother's role during worship. The service itself is demanding even without hosting responsibilities. 3 hours of sitting on backless benches tests physical endurance. The German and Pennsylvania Dutch language requires concentrated attention for those whose daily speech is primarily English. The a cappella singing, the lengthy preaching, the traditional liturgy all demand focus that exhaustion and distraction constantly threaten, post-service meal and cleanup. When the final hymn concludes, the worship space must immediately transform into dining space. Women move with practiced efficiency, bringing out the prepared food, organizing serving lines, managing the flow of 150 hungry people through a space designed for family dining, not mass feeding. In many communities, men eat first while women and children wait. This gender order reflects traditional hierarchy, but also practical logistics about who can be served most efficiently. Women serve the men, then turn to feeding children, then finally eat themselves, often consuming leftovers while standing in the kitchen because all seating is occupied. The serving coordination requires multiple women working in silent choreography developed through years of collective experience. Food moves from kitchen to tables. Empty plates get cleared, coffee gets refilled. The assembly line efficiency allows rapid feeding of the large crowd, necessary because afternoon chores await and families cannot linger indefinitely. Cleanup begins before everyone finishes eating. Dishes get washed in the kitchen while people still dine. Borrowed items get separated for return to their owners. The kitchen gradually returns to normal organization. When the last family leaves, furniture must be moved back inside, benches loaded onto the wagon for the next hosting family, and the house transformed from sacred space back to living space. The exhaustion is profound. The hosting family has worked intensively for 3 days, culminating in this marathon Sunday. Yet, with the work comes satisfaction. They've fulfilled their obligation. They've enabled community worship. They've demonstrated devotion through sacrifice. The gratitude from community members expressed through simple thanks and appreciation, makes the enormous effort feel meaningful and worthwhile. Hosting a church reveals the hidden cost of Amish worship. What appears simple from the outside requires enormous effort behind the scenes. The work falls primarily on women, whose physical labor creates the conditions that allow spiritual focus. The cleaning, cooking, organizing, and managing all happen largely unseen, yet without this work, worship could not occur.